Hello and welcome to this video series. My name's David Thorne, and what we're going to be covering is we're going to be talking about how to use Webpack. Now, if you don't know what Webpack is and you're watching this video, well, Webpack assists you to bundle all of your JavaScript files, CSS, images, and any other files that you have into one file. It also allows you to have like a server running, etc., etc. But the best way about learning how to do this is using the documentation, and this is what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be going through the documentation on the Webpack website in order for you to get a better grasp of how to use it. All right, so without further ado, let's jump over to the Webpack website. Okay, so it's webpack.js.org, and on one of the options you want to come to under Guides, Getting Started. And we're just going to slowly read through this. Webpack is used to compile JavaScript modules. Once installed, you can interface with Webpack either from the CLI or API. If you're still new to Webpack, please read through the core concepts and this comparison to learn why you might use it over the other tools that are out in the community. Okay, this I would then really highly recommend you reading this if you're still not aware about what Webpack does. Webpack in itself is such a great thing to use. It will speed up your development process. So if you're looking at creating a new project, it's better to implement it with Webpack in the beginning before your project gets too big. So I would honestly give you my advice to invest a good few hours learning how to use Webpack. Or you can just continue watching my videos and it should assist you anyway. All right, so let's continue. Okay, so the basic setup. First, let's create, initialize npm, install Webpack locally, and install the Webpack CLI, the tool used to run Webpack on the command line. So you're going to need to have Node and npm already installed. Now, if you haven't, please go back to another video or something and learn how to install npm and Node, all right, in order to do this. So let's do what it says here. Let's make a directory called Webpack demo inside of the folder that I'm in at the moment. And that's my terminal. So paste this in, and we want to then, make the directory, and then we want to change into this one folder. Okay. Any npm project needs a package.json file, and this can be easily done just by saying npm init with the -y flag, so as we don't have to ask any of the questions. This is then going to output the following information, which you can then read. Next, we need to install Webpack itself. As you can see here, this line, install Webpack itself, and we use then the save dev. This means that it's going to save all of these dependencies under the dev dependencies in your package.json. Once we've done these commands, we'll go over to the package.json so you can understand it a little bit further. Right, and webpack --save dev. And this will then go install Webpack inside of our directory that in our node modules that we're already using. This could take a second or two. So, Webpack, like I said, it's well worth investing your time using Webpack rather than trying to do it by hand. Okay, so then the next command that we need to do is then add the CLI. All right, and let's just copy this to speed it up, and then paste it in the terminal. Just take a second, and it's done. Okay, so the next command, what we got here, is throughout the guides we'll use diff blocks to show you what changes we're making to directories, files, and code. Now, if you don't understand how to use Git, then don't worry. Git is a versioning tool which allows you to then version the code that you're using. Now, a way that the documentation here is going to indicate that you need to add or minus files or code is by placing a dot to the left hand side, a plus sign to the left hand side of what text code that you need to add to that file. So let's just, you'll understand it as we go through. So here we see under the project that it says that we've got Webpack demo folder, and inside of it is our package.json, and there's a plus sign for an index.html file. So we know that an index.html file has been created. Also a source folder and an index.js file within inside of that folder. Okay, so let's go ahead and make these files, yeah? And we'll do this with Visual Studio Code because it's a little bit easier. Okay, so we need first of all a source folder, and that needs to be in my Webpack demo folder. And then inside of this we need our index.js, yeah? So index.js, that's all there. And we also need the index.html file that I've got here is inside of it. I've already copied, yeah, this file is already here. Okay, so now we have that, we can go ahead and save all files and we can continue reading. Okay, so inside of the source index.js, we need to copy the following code here. So let's just copy this now. Oops, actually we need to go back to the documentation, sorry. So now that we've done the first set of commands, we need to then fill the index.js with the following code, all right, as an example. So let's go back over to Visual Studio Code and paste this in there. This is doing nothing more than creating a div element and then placing some text inside of that element and then appending it to the body. So it's nothing too trivial. Well, it's very trivial actually. Right, okay, so let's go back to the documentation. And next, in the index.html, we need to then paste this information that's in there. We've done this already, so we can skip this. Okay, we also need to adjust our package.json file in order to make sure we mark our package as private, as well as removing the main entry. This is to prevent an accidental publish of your code. Let's just do it first and we'll explain it later. Okay, so we come to our package.json. Whoops, package.json. And from here, it said that we want to change this. We want to remove our main, and we also then want to add private equals true in here. So private equals true in here, and it was actually below the description is where they did it. All right, so there's no confusion. Okay, so now that we've done this, we can continue on, or we can explain why we're doing this. Private is equal to true means that this cannot be submitted to NPM, right? Because it's your website and it's not a framework. It's not a library that other people should be using. This is, you are building your website and you need the package.json in order to use the NPM package manager, all right? So as you can see, then we remove the entry points because we're not going to be running, it's not going to be a package, and you only need this main inside of a package. Okay, in this example, there are implicit dependencies between the script tag. Our index.js file depends on Lodash being included in the page before it runs. This is because index.js never explicitly declared a need for Lodash. It just assumes that the global variable underscore exists. Right, to go over this a little bit more, we need to come back to the code and have a look at it and explain it. This underscore is Lodash if you haven't used Lodash already, and the join method is a part of Lodash. So this underscore is a global variable. And inside of our index.html, we've loaded Lodash here when the website was rendered or loaded. So it means that we know that our index.js has access to this underscore global variable. But this is not a nice way to tell other developers which dependencies you're using and where they come from, because you could have created an underscore variable somewhere else, and yeah, so we want for other developers to know this comes from Lodash, and this is why we use Webpack. So let's continue reading the documentation because it does explain it further. There are problems with managing JavaScript projects this way. It's not immediately apparent that the script depends on an external library. If a dependency is missing or included in the wrong order, the application will not function properly. If a dependency is included but not used, the browser will be forced to download unnecessary code. Okay, this once again, this is a key part here. If within inside of your index.html in the head, you've then literally just put Lodash after your index.js, it means it's not going to be able to find that underscore global variable because it hasn't yet loaded the Lodash file, right? So this causes a problem. And if you have used, for example, jQuery, or if you've loaded jQuery in your index.html, and then you think about later that maybe actually you didn't need jQuery in the end, then you're exporting, you're forcing the user to download jQuery every time. And this is not really good practice, right? You should always be thinking about the user, about their mobile data. How much data do they actually need to download from your server in order to display your website or your web application? You want them to be able to download it as quickly as possible and with no unnecessary code. And unnecessary code means that you've got to be able to maintain that code as well. So you want to know that your website is using minimal or the most optimized version. Let's continue reading. Let's use Webpack to manage these scripts instead. It's far easier. So by creating a bundle, that's what we need to do. First, we'll tweak our directory structure slightly, separating the source code in a folder called src from our distribution code in a folder called /dist. The source code is the code that we will write and edit. The distribution code is the minimized and optimized output of our build process that will be eventually loaded in the browser. So what this is saying is that when we're creating our website, all of that code is going to go inside of this src folder, source folder. And once Webpack has done its job, it's then going to produce a minimized version that's optimized for a user to download it. So we know that we don't touch the dist folder because it's what Webpack is going to produce for us. Anyway, as you can see now, we need to make a dist folder, and we also need to make remove the index.html and place that inside of the dist folder. We have the source folder already, so let's go ahead and do that in Visual Studio Code. So let's come here, create new folder, dist, and let's then move our index.html to here. And let's continue reading, shall we? Okay, to bundle the Lodash dependency with index.js, we'll need to install the library locally. Okay, before we were using a script tag to load Lodash, well, we still are, but now what we're going to do is we're going to download and install Lodash using the package manager first of all. So let's go to Visual Studio Code again. Oh, we're there already, sorry. And we want the terminal actually. And npm install Lodash. And this time we want to save it, but we want to save it to the normal dependencies. So they're not development dependencies because we actually want to package Lodash up. So let's now go ahead and install this. Should be done pretty quickly. Okay, and once that's done, we can come to our package.json and see now we have in our dependencies Lodash. It's all good. So let's continue on with the documentation. Okay, when installing a package that will be bundled into your production bundle, you should use npm install -- save, just like I said. If you're installing a package for development purposes, e.g. a linter, testing libraries, etc., then you should use npm install save dev. And once again, you can read the documentation here. Okay, now let's import Lodash into our script. So now we can explicitly use Lodash in our script. So let's come to our index.js, and we can import now Lodash directly from the Lodash node modules folder. Okay, so now any other developers can directly see where the underscore is coming from and from which version it is as well, because they have the package.json. Okay, let's continue with the documentation. And as you can see, they've also removed this line describing it before. All right, so we'll, just for the sake of getting that done, we want Visual Studio Code. Let's do that now. Let's remove it. So now we can see that we've got our imports and the person's using it, and it doesn't need any description to tell another developer where it's from, which is nice and clean. Okay, let's save this now and continue on with the documentation. Now, since we'll be bundling our scripts, we have to update our index.html file. Let's remove the Lodash script tag as we now import it and modify the other script tag to load the bundle instead of the raw source file. Okay, so let's have a look what they're doing. As said, they're removing the script tag and also removing our index.js, because now we're only going to be using the main.js, which is being bundled by Webpack. So let's go back to Visual Studio Code, come to our index.html, remove this and change this then to main.js, yeah, as stated. Oh, sorry, we don't want that, we want just main.js. Okay, let's continue. In this setup, index.js explicitly requires Lodash to be present and binds it as a underscore no global scope pollution. By stating what dependencies our module need, Webpack can use this information to build a dependency graph. It then uses the graph to generate an optimized bundle where scripts will be executed in the correct order. It's basically saying it's going to check your code to see what packages you do and don't use, and if you don't use it, it's not going to put it in the end results. So it means your code is optimized. With that said, let's run npx webpack, which will take our script at index.js in the source folder as the entry point and will generate the dist main.js as the output. The npx command, which ships with node 8, npm 5 or higher, runs a webpack binary inside of the node modules folder of the Webpack package we installed in the beginning. So let's run Webpack and see that we get the same result, shall we? Okay, if we just move it up a little bit, you'll see that it's created a main.js file. So if we come back to Visual Studio Code, you'll see that within inside of the dist folder there is now a main.js, which is a complete rubbish file. So I wouldn't even bother having a look at it. If you really feel that you have to, then do. Okay, so let's continue with the documentation. Your output may vary a bit, but if the build is successful, then you are good to go. Also, don't worry about the warning, we'll tackle that later. Open index.html in your browser, and if everything went right, you should see the following text: hello Webpack. Okay, so this now, without any servers running, we can run the index.html in the website and it should all work. And if you come and have a look at this now, you'll see that it says hello Webpack when I just place the index.html file there, because it's not needing any servers to produce this. All right, okay, that's nice and simple. Okay, so now that we've done this first part and we've got the basic elements of Webpack working, then I'm going to leave this video and we'll go on to using modules in the next video. I hope you've learned something with this. I hope it's been informative. If you do have any questions, please don't forget to write some comments, like it, subscribe to my channel as well. You don't have to if you don't want to, but please give me feedback if you do or don't like the video, or if I skipped over something too fast, or if there's something else that you think I should then go into more detail. All right, that's it. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.